Expert care from people who care.
Hi everyone, today we are here at the Outreach Teen and Family Services Office with Grace, Kate, and Mary Birks, the Executive Director of Outreach. Mary has been serving as Outreach's Executive Director since 2014. In this episode, we will be celebrating Mary's incredible community impact during her time with Outreach because she will be retiring at the end of June. Congratulations on your retirement, Mary. We are so lucky to have you here today.
Thanks, Grace. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Okay, so we're going to start off with some fast 5 questions. So the first one is dine in or dine out?
I'll go with dine in because I love to cook.
Yeah.
And but there are special moments for dining out.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Grace?
I'm more of a dine out girl. I like the whole experience, and I especially going to a new restaurant.
Yeah.
I would say probably both. I agree with you, Mary, about going out for special occasions, to celebrate, but I do really like eating at home with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes leftovers are really good.
Yeah,
I love eating leftovers.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, next question. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Hands down. Coffee.
I'm a tea girl. I don't like the taste of coffee.
Really?
Not at all.
Is it the bitterness that gets you?
I don't even know. Even a Starbucks Frappuccino, which I know has the tiniest little 3 drops of coffee. I've tried it and I don't like it.
I think it's just a matter of taste.
I
Absolutely.
agree.
Yep.
And I didn't even start drinking coffee until I was in my 30s. So,
really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start later. Maybe
you will.
Yeah.
My taste will change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you do when you need caffeine then? Just energy drinks?
I have my energy drinks, the refreshers from Dunkin' or Starbucks, and I like tea.
Yeah.
I'll do tea.
Okay, third question, gold or silver?
White gold.
Ooh,
I love white gold.
fancy.
Yeah, white gold.
What about you, Grace?
I'm a gold girl.
Yeah, I'm a silver or white gold.
Yes.
I mix both because you can't really tell the difference if you mix them together.
That's correct.
Well, so.
That's correct.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, manicure or pedicure?
Well, manicures are every month. Pedicures are my special stuff. Those are my treats.
Same.
I love having a pedicure.
I'm the same
it's
way.
just such a wonderful, relaxing thing. How about you guys?
I'm the same way. I always get my nails done. I normally get them done every month.
Mm-hmm.
And then for pedicures, it's if I'm going to the beach, I'll get them done.
Right.
Because if I just paint my own nails, then it just comes off. So I have to I have to do gel if I'm going to the beach. So then I'll get a pedicure.
Yeah.
I'm a pedicure. I like the pedicures. I don't know. I like that it's when you're getting a manicure, you have to do all this arm moving and you have to be paying attention. No, they're just they'll just tap your leg and they're this
Yeah.
And it just feels so
it feels so fancy.
lovely and
Yeah.
fancy. Yes,
Yes.
you just feel fancy when you've had a pedicure. I
agree.
love that word. That's great.
Have you ever had I know sometimes when you get both done at the same time, they'll do your pedicure and your manicure at the same time. Sometimes you'll sit in the chair and someone else will be doing your hands. That's pretty fun
Yeah,
too.
then you feel like royalty, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, last question, train or bus?
Train. I love trains. I love train travel. I don't do it very often. We do a lot of traveling by car, but I think train travel is underrated. I think there's a lot you can see. And I have a couple on my bucket list. Eventually, there's one in Switzerland that I definitely want to
that
try.
sounds so fun.
And there's one up in Banff in Canada that looks amazing.
I've always wanted to go to Banff.
Yeah. So I would go train.
Yeah. What about you, Grace?
I feel I've also got to go train. I feel buses are just so boring. So I'm I know it's I'm a school bus.
Yeah.
I've been on them 100 times. I know
I haven't.
not the same.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very
Lebo.
special.
Yeah.
But I've got to go train.
Yeah. I would say train too. I think I can't remember how old I was. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. I can't remember how old I was, but one time I took a train from it was Chicago to California or something, and it was really beautiful because we went through the Sierras and everything.
Yeah.
And then I also will probably be taking the train to Philly.
Yes.
Not every time, but back and forth. It's only 8 hours or something, and it's pretty cheap, and it's easier because you don't have to have someone drive.
That's right. That's
Mhm.
right. Yeah.
That's nice.
That's great.
We'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to Sinclair Health. They've been our steadfast annual sponsor, supporting our podcast for 4 consecutive years now.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve so we can be stronger together. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
All right. Mary, what did you do prior to becoming the executive director of Outreach?
Immediately prior to being executive here at Outreach, I was the educational program manager at Girl Scouts Western Pennsylvania. And that job entailed managing the largest grant-funded program at Girl Scouts. It was called LIFT. It was created by a very brilliant woman who was a former police officer who had started working for Girl Scouts, and it really focused on young girls who were in at-risk populations or in some school districts that might not have as many opportunities for leadership for young women. And so it was Leaders in Training for Tomorrow. And when I got there, we had 2 schools. And when I left about 3 years later, we had 7. Because it was a great program and we had incredible facilitators, these great women who would come in and work with the young women in these schools. And we would have a trip every year where they would sell cookies and they would save all their money for cookies. So where do we want to go? So that's what I did immediately prior to this. In the midst of that, before that, I was on the school board in Mount Lebanon for 8 years. So I ran my own campaign and got elected to the school board twice, which was interesting and fun and incredibly educational. I learned a lot about a lot of things having been there. And then prior to that, I was a stay-at-home mom for many years. I dabbled in a lot of part-time jobs throughout that time, was a very philanthropic, was on the outreach board back in the day as well. And I started my career working for a company called Burson Marsteller. I was the meeting planner, large-scale meetings and events, doing things for Westinghouse and big companies like that. And that's how I started my career.
Wow, that was interesting. There's a lot of different things all thrown in there, but that sounded really fun.
Thanks.
What made you decide to leave your job at Girl Scouts for Outreach?
Sure. There was some changes at the top. And so you have to respect people's ideas for how they want to do things and how they want to have their impact on what's going on. And my job was going to be significantly changed, and it wasn't really what I had been hired to do previously. And so it was just an opportunity for me to take off, to leave that position, to take a couple of months in the summer and just sort of regroup and figure out what I wanted to do next. And this job came up in late September of that year, and the board asked me to take on the position, so I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
Here we are today.
So what do you do as the executive director of Outreach? So what does that role entail?
Great question. I don't know that we have enough time.
Just give us the highlights.
Sure. I'll give you the highlights. Okay, so we're a very small agency, so we all wear a lot of hats in the agency. The executive director is responsible for working directly with the board, doing board training, maintaining financial statements, working with the finance committee on financial statements, maintaining the budget, going out for grants, working with our consultant for marketing, for social media as well with Maggie and the team. I'm responsible for HR. So when we hire somebody, I do the onboarding. I make sure that all of the right forms are in, that everybody gets the right documentation in. I'm responsible for insurance. So we have professional liability insurance for our counselors. We have directors and officers insurance for our board. Technology, I am the person who is responsible for bringing in our managed services company, Vertilocity. They manage all of our computers. They manage our firewall, making sure that everything is staying safe. And I'm sort of responsible for all those contracts. So our school contracts, our municipal contracts, any vendor contracts that we have. So it's a lot of different things. It's different every single day. You come in with a list of to-do things and you're like, guess that's for tomorrow because things pop up. Also responsible for being sort of the contact to the committee who is running the gala, and making sure that I'm keeping all of those balls in the air as well and keeping things going.
Wow, that sounds like a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot to do.
Mhm.
But it's like I said, it's different every day. It's a challenge, but there's a lot of great things happening.
Something that you mentioned got me thinking about what is so amazing about outreach is today I was sitting in 8th period. I was in Gov, and I was like sitting with my group of like classmates, and I was talking. I was like, oh, like tonight, like I'm going to outreach to record a podcast. And my one friend goes, oh my gosh, like my parents are on the board of outreach. And it was just so funny because like we were just in class talking, and I had no idea because she's in the grade below me.
Okay.
I had no idea, and it's so cool to just see how all these people connect. And then I know another group of girls in my grade, they also like have parents on the board. So
That's great.
cool.
That's the
Yeah.
wonderful thing about outreach being community based.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of this is advocacy on my part
Yeah.
to make sure that our counselors have the ability and the flexibility to do what they do,
Yeah.
to make sure that we're financially sustainable so that they can continue to do all the things they do.
Mhm.
I am not a clinician. I learn so much every day from our clinicians, and from our clinical director, Caitlin, as well as Maggie and all of our counselors. I'm always learning, which is great about this organization. We are a learning organization. We are constantly wanting to do continuing education and making sure that we all learn new things, because our kids are always learning new things.
Yeah.
Our clients are always bringing new things to the table here.
Yeah. And like for like the all walk, seeing how all of the board members pitched in, and
Yeah.
we had like ice cream, bagels,
Mhm.
donuts. I feel like we had more. I can't even remember.
We had what else did they bring? They brought several things.
Yes, there were
there
so
was so
many
lot left over
options.
that day.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yes.
All right, Mary, what is the biggest challenge that you have faced in your time at outreach?
I would say, of course, it's a nonprofit, and it's a small nonprofit. So really building up our finances is always a huge challenge. We had a very small donor list when I first took over, and we now have a much bigger donor list, thankfully, because we've really been making an active I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but anyway,
Like outreach.
yeah,
Outreach
it is an active outreach to engage, more active engagement, to
Yeah.
really let people know what we're doing. I mean, I think that's the other part of it, is that's been a big challenge, is making sure that we're not the hidden gem, that everybody
Yeah.
knows who we are, what our mission is, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish, while maintaining the confidentiality, of course, of what we do here. I think the other part of it that's challenging is retention of incredible staff. And we have a tendency to have great people coming in, and then they get their licensure and they might go to a private practice because they're going to get more money, and they're worth it. They really are. But we're a small place and we're a nonprofit, and sometimes it's difficult for us to compete with that. So we want to make sure that we've created a culture that makes people want to stay and be part of that culture and enjoy the flexibility that they have here.
That's awesome. That's so sweet. What is your favorite part of your role as the executive director of outreach? I know we touched on like a lot of parts earlier, but
Yeah.
would you say you have like a favorite or something you look forward to the most?
From my perspective, I love hearing the stories. So two of my siblings were clients here in the 70s when the agency was very, very young. And I know from listening to them speak later in life how impactful this agency was on their day-to-day and their future, really. So I love listening to our counselors talk about some of the successes that they've been having, or and making sure that I am equipped with those stories to share with other people, to say, well, these are some of the things that we're helping kids with, getting their tools for their toolbox and their coping mechanisms and all of these very general terms. But that's one of my favorite things to do, is brag on the counselors, is really to talk about the work of these incredible people, because they're the magic. They're
Yeah.
the beautiful magic of this place. And if we didn't have these incredibly dedicated people who cared so much about kids and families and mental health, we wouldn't be who we are.
I agree. I feel like the stories really illustrate the impact of the organization because, like, with numbers, like, sure, you can see, like, oh, this many clients came in, this many come back, but, like, the stories are really how you see, like, what difference you make in people's lives.
Well, and I think you make a really good point, Kate, because mental health sometimes is very difficult to put numbers to.
Yes.
And a lot of times, and I know from my own experience and my family's experience, that it wasn't until later in life that they could reflect back to say that made this difference for me.
Yeah.
And so, you're still, as teenagers and young adults, you're still forming a lot of what your life work is forming. And then you look back and go, wow, if I hadn't had those conversations, I don't know that I would have moved in this direction. So it's very difficult sometimes to have those statistics that we look for. We try very hard to make sure that we're showing demographic work and some of the top 3 reasons that kiddos come here with anxiety or peer pressure or whatever those things are. We do try to track those things.
Yeah.
But the other aspect of it is nuanced, right? Because we're humans and we change month to month, week to week a lot of times. You have things that impact you in a way that shift your perspective. So I would just say the stars here are definitely this team. They are amazing people, and that's my fave part.
It's amazing. I know the staff here is so awesome.
They are.
Especially Maggie.
Especially
Maggie.
We love Maggie.
We do.
All
we
right.
do.
What is your favorite memory from your time at Outreach?
Oh, this is there's a lot of great things that have happened. But several years ago, we had we put a grant application in to Staunton Farm Foundation. And they are a wonderful partner. We were lucky enough to work with them over the years. And it was a significant grant application. It was 6 figures ask, and it was basically a sustainability grant. And it made Maggie full-time as our program manager, along with multiple other aspects that were going to ensure that we could be a sustainable organization. And putting things into place, strategic planning, consultants for that strategic planning, so to work with the board, to work with me, to really get our goals down and straight so that we knew which direction we were going. And I remember getting the phone call from the program officer, and I was at home. It was late in the afternoon, and she said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "No." She goes, "You need to sit down. You got it." And it was this moment of great joy and anticipation, and now we can go. Now it was like, now we can go. Now we can move. Now we can get the things done, and we can impact more people. We can get into more communities. We can make a difference in more lives, and we can impact people in a positive way. And that was a highlight for me. That was definitely a highlight for me.
Wow, Mary, that grant sounds like such an amazing accomplishment. What are some things at Outreach that were funded by that money?
So along with our development consultant, our program manager going full-time, and our strategic planning consultants as well, we really were able to move forward with the amazing podcast that you two are now co-hosting, Teens Tap In. I had a meeting with Sid Saba and Caroline Cousins at the Galleria and talked about what they wanted to do as junior board members back in the day when they were joining the board, the outreach board. And we talked about youth voices and the fact that not everyone is hearing you. They're listening, but they're not hearing you. And we really wanted to make sure that we had a vehicle to really shine on your voices and have people listen and hear what you had to say. Because a lot of things are put on you as teenagers, and you have no power over it. So we wanted to empower them to really use their voices when it came to mental health and mental wellness. And so that's one of the great things that we were able to make sure that we could invest in. Maggie is the producer of the podcast, having the ability to also have St. Clair Health Fund and be the sponsor for this podcast for the last 4 years. It has made it so that we can get great guests on, and so that we can continue to have those voices being heard.
That's awesome. And like seeing how far the podcast has grown, because I know the girls who started the podcast, like I knew them when I was a freshman in high school and they were seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And now like I'm a senior and
Right.
it feels so weird to look back on that.
Yeah,
But it's so amazing to see how many episodes have been produced and been published, and like how many people we've reached with Teens Tap In.
And we've only just started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How long does it normally take to like apply for a grant? Is it like a very difficult process?
That's a really great question, Kate. It depends on the foundation. There's some smaller family foundations where it can be a quick turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you really need to create a relationship with the people that you're going to be working with, so that they understand who you are and you understand what their goals are.
Yeah.
Because not everyone is a good fit for us.
Yeah.
You know, there's different foundations that have different goals and they have their own strategies. So it really takes some time to really do some detective work, and then take the time to meet with people, have conversations, say, you know what, this probably isn't a good fit for us.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody else that you might think of that could be a good fit for us?
Yeah.
And it's really about creating this community.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And foundation partners are really, they are critical to nonprofits, especially in Southwestern Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. We have an incredibly philanthropic area in the Southwestern PA. Older foundations, newer foundations, a lot of family foundations as well. We're very fortunate here that we have as many people who are as generous as they are in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
it takes some time.
Yeah.
The grant was written in, it was probably written in February or March, and the meeting was in May, and we found out in June.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge St. Clair Health. We're deeply grateful for their generous sponsorship of the 4th season of Teens Tap In.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve so we can be stronger together. By creating reliable resources that recognize all of our neighbors, with access to the highest quality healthcare, advanced care close to home, and a shared humanity that delivers on our joint vision to create a healthier community for all. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
So moving on to the second part of the questions, Mary, what are you most excited for in the future of outreach?
I'm excited about everything that's on the horizon for outreach. We have the ability to partner with multiple school districts down the line. We have the ability to partner with community organizations. And we are getting that word out to people in a more substantive way, so that they know that they can come to us for parenting classes, for the Body Project, for drug and alcohol classes, for so many different kinds of things, along with our counseling services. And that's what makes this organization unique, that we do provide individual and family counseling, but our efforts to reach out into the communities that we serve is what makes us a special partner for people, because we want to educate, we want to empower, we want to make sure that parents know that they are doing the hardest job in the world as a parent, and that we're here to support them on their journey. So I think some of those aspects of it, and our vision where every teen and child, teen and parent in the communities we serve thrives, that is what I look forward to, because I think that we are on the cusp, on the precipice of really getting to those places, and it's been exciting work to get there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. What is the biggest lesson you have learned from your time at Outreach?
That's a difficult question.
Yeah, it is. That one was a tough one. That one you really have to think about. I've learned a lot of lessons. I've learned that just because you're in a leadership role doesn't mean that people are going to follow or that you're good at it. I've learned that making mistakes is important for growth. and development. I've learned that you're not immune to challenges. And I've learned that as a leader, you must become a servant leader. You must be someone that your team can rely on, depend on, not be afraid to come and talk to about things. And you want to make sure that everybody who is on the bus is on the right seat. And if they're not, then you're talking to them about which seat they might want to be on, or are they on the right bus? And you have to be candid, and you need to have clarity of a vision for the agency that is formed by your team. It can't just be yours.
Yeah.
You can come in as a leader and say, this is what we need to do. But if you don't have buy-in from your team, if you don't have support from the people that work with you, you're not going to be successful. And I think that has been a big part of what I have learned over the years, and some of the big lessons learned over my decade here.
I feel like that ties really well into our next question, which is like, what advice would you give someone? What advice would you give to someone considering a career similar to yours?
Check your ego at the door. Put on your humility cape, because you have to. It's everybody has their own. They're bringing their own context, their own history, their own experience to every conversation and everything that is going on in this agency. Work with people to establish consensus, and don't be afraid to say, you know what, I haven't looked at it that way. Let me think about that for a little while. Allow yourself the grace, there you go, and the time to marinate on things. Don't do things quickly. Don't make decisions quickly. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because there are things when you come into a position like this, you don't know what you don't know. And so it's really important to find a mentor, to work with the board, to understand what their vision is, and to see what they want to do, how they want to give to the organization, and to really make sure that you are putting together a team, because the kids and the families are depending on us, and our community is looking to us. And so we need to be that place. We need to be that place of consensus and kindness and connection and all of those wonderful things that we do.
What was your process like for onboarding into your position? Did you find it to be difficult or like a smooth journey?
There were a lot of challenges
Yeah.
in the transition to this position for me, and a lot of it rests at my feet, falls at my feet, and what my expectations were coming in. And there were some things that had to change. There were some systems and processes that were not conducive to a professional agency, and there were things that I probably did that were mistakes, that were probably not okay, and I learned from them, and I looked to other people to say, how do I move through this? How do we get through it as an agency? How do we do certain things? It's always the most difficult part of being in a position of authority or leadership, or trying to guide a ship, kind of a thing, is people, because humans are flawed, myself included, especially myself included. And trying to figure out where everybody fits is a difficult thing. It was not an easy process.
Yeah.
I had a lot of help. I had gone to Greater Pittsburgh nonprofit, and they had a program called Executive in Residence, and they matched me with a gentleman who had been Don Gowler. He was my coach for many years, and he would meet with me every month at the office. He would come and we would talk through all the things that I saw as problems or as challenges or as opportunities, and we would go through everything together. And I credit him with a lot of the successes that we've had over the years. I have a management coach, Mike Dempy, who used to be on the board here. He has been excellent to work with, and to listen to, and to get guidance from. And I think that has helped me over the decade. If Dawn, I don't believe I would be sitting here today without Dawn's guidance and his help. I really don't think that I would have made it through, because he would say, "You're doing okay. You're doing well. Don't challenge yourself too much. Keep doing this. Just because people are knocking heads with you, that's okay, because change is hard.
Mhm.
Change is hard, and sometimes change makes people want to not be where you are."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I credit him with the work that we did together to move me into a position where I felt confident in what I was doing.
I think you bring up a really good point with the idea that like even when you're in that like executive position or like top leadership position, you're still learning and
Oh,
you're still
yes.
growing, because I think sometimes we think like as the leader of something, like we have
Mhm.
to be perfect all the time, and we have to like we can't make mistakes, and we have to be this like amazing role model for everyone else. But I feel like a big thing that a really important thing about role models is like seeing that they can make mistakes and learn and
Right.
recover and grow, because everyone's human, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is spot on. That is spot on, Kate. And if you think that you are perfect, you're probably not in the right position.
Very true.
So will you be like training the next
Yes,
executive?
yes. We've the succession planning has been pretty robust.
Yeah.
We have a hiring committee from the board, and that person will overlap me by 4 weeks.
Oh, that's
so the
awesome.
person we
Yeah.
expect to come in and be with me for all of June, and so I will be able to set up meetings so that we can meet all of our stakeholders. They will be meeting, of course, with our amazing team here, to go to the board, to meet with all the board members, either individually or as in committees or whatever they want to do. And then we'll go into all the many hats. We'll go
Yeah.
into HR and IT and strategic plan and all of the things that make the place go. But yeah, there'll be a good 4-week overlap.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Mary, what are you looking forward to the most about retiring?
So it's the 3 Gs. I call them the 3 Gs because it's the opportunity to hopefully be a grandparent someday. Spending more time in my garden, which I love. It is therapeutic, and it's sort of a challenge because of the deer. So I'm always looking for native plants that they don't like. So that's part of it. And golfing with my husband. But I would add one more thing. My Black Labrador Winston is the sweetest Labrador in the world, in my opinion. And Maggie and I talked about this. I'm going to try to get him certified therapy dog to go to some colleges and high schools and take him around so that he can give off his wonderful vibe to more people. He's an exceptionally brilliant dog, and he takes the energy that he gets and he gives that back. If he meets a dog that is crazy and wild, he's doing chest bumps in the street. If he meets a dog that is just very chill, he's lying down and he's taking the cues. So I think that he has a gift, and I feel like especially Labradors, they're working dogs. They love to be doing things. He is so goofy and fun, and I thought, why not share him with the world too? So that's part of what I'm hoping to do too.
That's awesome. I
That's
definitely want to do
amazing.
that too
Yeah.
at some point. Don't know when I'll get the time, but
Yeah.
one day.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'm looking. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's having the time to
Yeah.
do some of those
Mhm.
things for sure.
What is something you wish everyone knew about outreach?
I wish more people understood how important mental health is to the overall well-being of children and teens and families in general. I wish that they understood that this group of counselors is incredibly dedicated, professional, brilliant in how they go through things. They are always looking to improve. They are looking to talk to one another to improve and say, what about this? How would you deal with this? I think that's what I would love people to understand, is that we have a resource in outreach in our community. This is not what most communities have. We are partially funded by our municipality, which means that we have our stakeholder buy-in, and it's important for us to make sure that we're letting them know what our successes are so that they know how we're doing. But we're also in Bethel Park. We have a contract with Bethel Park. We would love to have contracts. We'd love to have many little satellite outreaches everywhere, because you need to sort of reflect the culture and the communities that you serve. And we want to make sure that we continue to do that. And with growth, sometimes there's pains that come with that. But I really wish people would understand, if your kid can't see the whiteboard or the smart board at school, you go to the eye doctor to make sure that they're getting glasses. If they're having issues with breathing, you're going to the doctor to see if they have asthma and get them something. If they are having difficulty studying for tests, keeping themselves focused on certain things, dealing with friendship issues, it's okay and it's recommended to come and see a counselor and have a conversation. It might be 3 sessions. It might be 35 sessions. But the actual work that is being done is setting that person, that client up for future success, laying a foundation which they can build upon, because they might not ever come back to counseling after 3 sessions. But we want to make sure that that foundation is there for them to reach back into and say, I can do this. I can do this.
That's amazing. That's such a good point. I feel like a lot of times, because mental health isn't as visible necessarily, like using visible in like air quotes,
Sure.
as like you said, not being able to see, because like the child will be like, oh, like I can't see the math problems that the teacher's writing, and like it's very like normal to just take your kid to the eye doctor,
Right.
like get them tested, get them glasses. And like other like health conditions, it's like, okay, just go to the doctor, you get this medicine. But because mental health doesn't necessarily manifest always in like a physical way,
Right.
it can be a lot more difficult for kids, especially young kids who might not really understand mental health
Right.
themselves that much, to like get them the help that they need.
Well, and that's why we talk a lot about our parent consultations too, because parents who are dealing with a different child, maybe their first kiddo really sort of skated through and they really didn't have any kind of confrontations or issues that they knew about anyway. And their second kid maybe is giving them some challenges, and maybe mom and dad are like, is this normal behavior? I don't know. We didn't deal with this with the other one. How does this work? We have that option and that opportunity for people to come in and speak with a counselor, to talk about what's going on, how they might put a plan in place, what kind of language to use around, because we are all individuals. Just because 2 kids or 3 kids are raised in the same house does not make them the same. And the parent's perspective has changed. Context has changed. I have 2 children. They were born 2 years apart. There's a lot of growth in 2 years as an individual and as a parent. So I was a different parent for my second child than I was for my first child, which we laugh about. He's always like, yes, I was the guinea pig. And we're like, yeah, you were. So it is one of those opportunities for parents to come in and have those conversations to make sure that they understand what's going on with their kids.
Okay, Mary, our last question for you is, how can people help support Outreach's work?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. They can talk about it to their friends if they've been here, if they've experienced have a great experience. Please share it with your friends and your colleagues. If they own companies, they can be part of our supporter program, which is we have both business memberships and individual memberships for our supporter program. That funding is directly linked to Maggie's work and program to make sure that we can continue to offer programming either at a very low cost or no cost. They can become a monthly donor. They can become an annual donor. They can be a sponsor for the gala that's coming up. They can buy tickets for the gala that's coming up and be part of that. We love having people on our board. If you are passionate about mental health and you want to be part of our board, we would love to have you as part of the board. And all of those opportunities are something that they can reach out to me about. And I'm happy to have conversations with anybody who wants to learn a little bit more about what they can do.
And how could they contact you if they were interested in those opportunities?
So my email address is the best to go to. It's mbirks, MBIRKS, @outreachteam.org. and or they can go onto the website. We have forms on the website that they can, if they have an inquiry, they can certainly use that form, and it comes to us in the office as well.
To conclude, we want to express our gratitude to St. Clair Health, whose support makes this podcast possible. We invite you to listen to the following message from our sponsor.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve, so we can be stronger together. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
As Mary mentioned a few times, we have the very exciting Outreach Gala coming up on Friday, May 2nd at the Heinz History Museum.
Heinz History Center, yes.
Heinz History Center.
Yes.
And it is an incredible experience. I was so lucky to be able to go last year. And it's a great way to have some fun and raise awareness about mental health and help fund Outreach's efforts in the next year. So I highly recommend that any of our listeners who might be interested join us.
Yes, we would love to have them. We have Ken Rice and Adam Crowley both as co-MCs this year.
Ooh.
So we're very excited to welcome those gentlemen, and it's going to be an amazing event. We're really looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to welcoming you both back again this year.
I've never been. This will be my first year,
right.
so
there last
yes,
year.
I'm
That's
super
right.
excited.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, fantastic. Well, we're excited to have you come. Then,
Yes,
Kate.
I'm
That's
excited.
Right. That'll be great.
We are so grateful to each and every one of you for tuning in and supporting our podcast. Mary, thank you so much for all the amazing work you've done for Outreach and for being here to talk to us today.
And thank you both for being here and being part of one of the best things about Outreach, which is OCC and the podcast and Maggie's leadership in both of those areas. And we're so grateful to all of you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was so awesome to have you on the podcast today, and congratulations early for your retirement.
Thank you very much. Thanks, both of you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening.
The views and opinions expressed in the Teens Tap In podcast represent the opinions of the hosts and their guests. The views and opinions expressed by Outreach Teen and Family Services employees, donors, and volunteers are their own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Outreach Teen and Family Services or the show's sponsors. The content here should not be taken as counseling advice. The content here is for informational purposes only, and because each person is unique, please consult your mental health provider or physician for any mental health counseling or other medical questions. The podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including, but not limited to, establishing a standard of care in a legal sense, or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast. If you find any error in any of the content of the podcast, please contact us at podcasts@outreachteen.org. Outreach Teen and Family Services, its sponsors, donors, and partners expressly disclaim any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages whatsoever arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, reliance on, or inability to use this podcast or the information presented in this podcast. Please go to www.outreachteen.org to see the complete notice and disclaimer for the podcast episodes.